With the rumors of LEGO making a Starship Enterprise set later this year continuing to grow, I figure it's finally time that I look back at some of the existing Starship Enterprise models that I have. But before I could get to that, I had to clear some space. Hi, I'm Joe, and I thought I'd just show you a little bit of what's been going on here, what we've been working on, and what I got to clear out of the way. And I'll start here with the project that Julie and I started almost a year ago that was focused around this collectible minifig here, the Mushroom Girl, and she wanted to design an entire forest for her to live in. And we started on that. We ordered a bunch of pieces, and we started building some trees. We just kind of looked up some ways to build trees. We looked at the video that Jason's Brixx 5 made about building trees, and we just started sticking things together to see what we could get. And we got started, and then the project kind of came to a halt when life got busy, and pieces of this project have been floating around our house ever since. But we still have pieces, and I finally got around to sorting them, so if we ever do get back to this, I can get started a little bit easier. And there's another Jason's Brixx 5 video that should look familiar and very similar to this, where I've got all my necessary parts for building this forest all separated into separate bags, where we've got some leaves and flowers and animals and parts that I think we could use to make mushrooms, and trees and clips and more branches and everything, and even have a couple of spare sets, including this cherry blossom set, which is the first time I've ever bought a complete set specifically for parts. And I might still use this for parts, or I might just build it as is. Then another set that kind of got mixed in, which was a GWP from last year, which was a flower set, which that's another video for the future, to possibly look at the sets of flowers that are not part of the botanical collection officially, just to kind of show the different kinds of flowers you can build with regular Lego bricks. Then we have some bags of parts here. This is a pick-a-brick order from Lego, which was actually placed in November, that had a bestsellers portion and a standard portion, and the bestsellers portion arrived within a couple of days. The standard portion, which ships from Denmark, has still not arrived, although it's expected to arrive today. But there is a project in these pieces. There's also some extra pieces that I just wanted to use for mocks, but hopefully I'll get those other pieces later today. And here's another pick-a-brick order. Same story, that this is going to be a rebrickable mock. However, the Billund portion hasn't arrived, even though I ordered this in December. So is anyone else having trouble getting Lego from Billund these days if you're in the U.S.? Because I can't imagine I'm the only one. And then we've got this fun hole set here that I just got, which is a bee farm. And the reason I got that, because I was already planning a build of 3 other sets. 2 of them I'm going to build the set, and the other is going to be a rebrickable model. And I thought about trying to tie them all together, because there'll be a common theme, and I might even mix it back in here with this forest. But enough about that. Here's what we came for. We're going to start looking at the very first brick-built Star Trek set that I'm aware of anyway. This is the Mega Bloks Pro Builder Starship Enterprise 1701D. This was released in 2004 and is probably the last set that I built before my latest Dark Age. I did get this new. It's in a bag now because I lived in another house, and when we packed it up, we had to kind of break it down, and several years ago, I finally took it down to all the pieces so I could clean them, because it had been on display for a long time and it had collected a lot of dust. So anyway, let's get started on this build. First of all, there were no numbered bags with this set. So when I took it apart the last time, I tried to help myself a little bit when I built it the next time by separating parts into what sections of the ship they belong to. Also, you might be able to tell through the bags, but the color of the bricks also show their age. The brick on the left is from the Enterprise set, which is more like the older gray, And the brick on the right is a Lego light bluish gray brick from more recent. So this definitely matches the older color palette. As for parts, most of them are standard, but we do have some specialized pieces here. Like this piece here is what's going to connect the secondary hull to the nacelles. It does have some printing on it. And we have another printed piece here, which is going to be part of the stand. But we unfortunately also have not just stickers, but stickers over assembly. So now when I took this apart last, I was actually able to keep the pieces together on the sticker. But still, that is definitely not preferred and helps the set show its age. So here's the completed Mega Bloks Starship Enterprise from the next generation. And it's not hard to tell what the biggest criticism of this model is. I mean, I think it was a nice attempt for 2004, and it's nicely shaped, but it is very hard to ignore exposed studs absolutely everywhere on the top of the saucer section. They are broken up a little bit by these trans black pieces that I think are supposed to simulate windows. And I believe these dark gray pieces are supposed to simulate like the ring where the phasers come out of, at least on the top. And there are some at least distinctive markings on it, but they are all stickers. And in this case, this is a sticker across assembly. The top part here is specifically molded. That's just a unique specialized piece, but it does make the top of the ship look pretty decent. So let's take a look all the way around. The saucer is symmetrical, so there's not going to be anything different on the left or right side. On the back, you have these two red pieces. I'm not sure what function they served on the Enterprise, but anything that breaks up the gray is welcome. Now here is an interesting part that I didn't remember from building this set previously, but you know, at a glance, it just looks like a 1x2 Technic brick with the Technic hole that looks a little bit larger than a regular, say, a Lego Technic hole. But if I turn it around, it's actually anti-studs. And this is what helps to keep these red bricks here on the back of the Enterprise. Back here, we've got some more stickers. Those are at least on single tiles, but they are part of the ship where it leads into the shuttle bay, which is represented by a gap here under some tiles. Here on the back of the ship, where it connects the saucer to the star drive or secondary hull, whatever you want to call it, we've got more stickers across assembly. Another sticker here. There's actually some stickers here, some very small ones here on the back of where the nacelles connect. The top of the nacelles, those are all stickers. The nacelles themselves, however, don't look too bad because the studs have been covered off and they're using sloped bricks that are smooth. And I think that gives them a little bit better look, but it's also very blocky because it gives it more like just all flat sides instead of a more oval look. The stand is also brick built. I'm going to take it off the stand here because it is just made for the Enterprise to sit on top of it. We'll look from underneath here. Underneath, we don't really have anything to cover off the anti-studs. There's another plate here, or another tile here with a sticker on it. And we got some more dark plates here to, again, simulate where the phasers come out. More stickers. The deflector dish is actually just 4 of these trans blue or dark blue. I think that's a fairly unique color, but then that's a sticker across the front of all of those to give the deflector dish its more distinctive look. And again, the bottom of the ship, there's nothing special there. There's just this square hole, which is where the stand goes. Although the ship actually will sit reasonably well without the stand, or maybe it won't. Well, at least we learned about that on camera. The stand here has a printed piece very specialized piece. It says to boldly go where no one has gone before. There is a little bit of a awkward tile placement here on the side where you can see right here, that is not straight up and down. So there's a gap in the way it connects, but that's not something that is going to make a huge difference in the model. After we put in for repairs, we can now check out the one minifigure that the ship comes with. Of course, the ship is not minifigure scale, but we have Jean-Luc Picard along with what they call the Dustbuster style phaser and a little stand that I believe is printed. To my knowledge, this is the only Star Trek Next Generation minifigure that was ever made by Mega, and I don't believe I've seen any others until BlueBrixx came out with their set of minifigures that was out briefly that I do not have. A couple of other notes I wanted to make about this build is that the set actually came with some extra bricks designed so that you could prop the saucer up while you're building it upside down. Now, I've long since lost these bricks, but any 2x4 bricks will do for this purpose. And the real purpose isn't because you need it to be able to build the model, but I think it's to protect this piece here. I ended up not getting any bricks out to do that, but I just used an empty container like that. And whenever I turned the saucer upside down, I just had it sit on that so it wouldn't damage that piece. The other thing I wanted to point out is there was some significant yellowing of pieces kind of at random throughout the set. Now, I did build this 20 years ago, and it sat on display for maybe 6 or 7 years before I finally had to pack it up to move. But this is just one example right here. This is a 2x3 brick, and you can see that it is a significantly different color than the bricks around it. And why just that brick is different, and it's not just part of the brick, like some part that was exposed to the sun, but the whole brick is like that. There are 2 or 3 others in the set that are also discolored like that. Now, this is not the only building set I have for the Next Generation Enterprise. I also have this set here from BlueBrixx, which is a much larger set, almost 2,000 pieces, 1,971, and it looks a lot more promising there on the cover art because we've got lots of tiles that are curved covering the top instead of counting on studs to give texture to this model. So let's check out the BlueBrixx Enterprise. So here we have the BlueBrixx Enterprise D, and you can immediately see a big difference compared to the Mega Bloks version here. You can immediately see so many less exposed studs on the top of the saucer section, and you can also see the difference in size. The Enterprise D from BlueBrixx is considerably larger and at least twice as many pieces as the original Mega Bloks version. There are also many other big differences that are not immediately visible. First of all, there are no stickers in this set. Everything is printed, and there are no specialized pieces in this set. Everything is just a semi-regular brick or plate or tile. There are no customized pieces like the back of the Enterprise D from the Mega Bloks version here that had the nacelles on. This is all assembled with bricks. So let's take a closer look. First of all, in the interest of full disclosure, I will say that when I most recently rebuilt this, I already had some pieces that I had left built, like the nacelles, the stand, and about half of the secondary hull. But the saucer I still had to reassemble, and I also had to add pieces to the secondary hull. So if I have forgotten some assembly notes from the other pieces that I'd left pre-assembled, then I apologize for that. But here I'm going to go through at least what I experienced when I most recently rebuilt this. You can see from above that the saucer section has a distinctly oval shape, but it doesn't look as exaggerated when you look down from the side. All of the pieces here around the edge to simulate little windows are all prints, and even though there are a ton of these pieces, there are actually only a few different prints. For the most part of these slopes here, there's only 2, but you can see it repeats. This one repeats here and all around the other sides, and same with this one here, which repeats here, and it repeats all around the model. And you can kind of just see they alternate, and it's not really too hard to keep them straight. These larger corner pieces are about as close to a specialized piece as this has. And of course, this here is printed, and we don't really have that much that's decorative here on the top of the saucer. I will say, though, there were some part challenges. For one thing, these curved pieces, I don't know if you can see here how this particular element is not quite all the way on, but it was a challenge to get that one to work at all. It seems to be just that particular piece, as the other three curved pieces went on just fine, but this one had other ideas. I also had one damaged piece that cannot be seen once you put all the tiles over the top of it, and it didn't seem to really affect how well it held on to other bricks, so that ended up not being a big deal. Moving around the ship, we'll continue to look at the nacelles, which are identical, except you've got a green translucent tile on one and a red translucent tile on the other. And again, these tiles here are all prints. On the sides, we've got these translucent blue pieces to simulate the light of the nacelles. And on the front, for the red part, they used these red macaroni style pieces. I kind of wish they'd been able to make those in translucent red, but it still gets the point across. Turning the ship around to the back, we don't see a whole lot of new detail, but we do see how they've used these built up triangles here to kind of simulate the way that the saucer connects to the secondary hull. And we've got a few trans red pieces here to show things like impulse engines or running lights or whatever those happen to be. The stand is nothing terribly remarkable. It's just an oval. This was an early BlueBrixx design. With some of their later ships, they started doing more with the bases, usually to make some type of shape or emblem that looks like the ship or the Federation or whoever the ship is for. But at this point, the base is purely functional. There are 4 connections to the bottom of the ship, and it's actually not too hard to remove. Now the question is, can I remove it and get video of it? For the most part, the ship just sits on the stand. There is one axle down here that actually connects, but the rest of it, let me see if I can pop it off. There we go. Here, I'll move the ship out of the way and just show the stand. It's just a few studs here that are just enough to hold the ship in place. And on the bottom here, you can see that's one connection for the saucer, and then you have the other connections to the stand here on the secondary hull. Now the bottom of the saucer, unlike the Mega Bloks Enterprise, actually has a lot of the anti-studs tiled off. It gives it a much cleaner look. Now there's nothing else decorative down here. There's no prints on the bottom, but you do see the green and the red studs here on the sides, which I believe is standard for indicating which is the starboard and the port. And there is a little bit more shaping here to give it some curvature on the bottom, but otherwise there's nothing really distinctive here. You can kind of get a closer look at how the saucer connects to the secondary hull. There are a lot of bricks here, and it feels reasonably solid. I don't feel like the ship is going to fall apart in my hand. I wouldn't necessarily want to swoosh it too much, because... Okay, so swooshing was not a great idea, but I was able to get it put back together in just a couple of minutes, And the last thing I wanted to show here was the deflector dish, and no, I'm not going to take it off the stand this time, but I'm going to see if I can get some light in here. There we go. The deflector dish is kind of plain, really. It's got the flat silver pieces in the center, and it does have trans blue pieces on the inside to give it some color, but it seems very dark. For one thing, as you can tell, it's sitting under the saucer, so unless you have it lit up from inside, it's going to be very hard to see anything other than a dark circle there. Let me turn the light off. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything at all. But so it feels like some more could have been done there. Maybe some trans red in the middle could have given it some personality, kind of like what the Mega Bloks Enterprise did with the sticker. And one last thing I wanted to point out is that when you build the saucer, you build the top part first, so you've got all the curvature on here. So when you go to tile off the bottom, it is very challenging because you can't necessarily just set it on a table and press down those tiles. And there's over 200 tiles that go on the bottom here. There's like 180 of these flat ones, and then there are studs on both side tiles underneath this curved part that allow it to attach. So there's 70 some of those. So yes, it's 250 tiles that you have to press down, and because of the curvature of the top here, you can't really just set it on a table and press them down. You have to hold the saucer in your hand with one hand while you press down with the other. And doing that for 250 tiles is not a terribly enjoyable experience. I don't know if the building instructions could have been changed so that you could have pressed those tiles on while the top part was flat, or if you could at some point put spare bricks on like the Mega Bloks version had, that were designed to prop it up so that you wouldn't have to rest the saucer here on this specialized piece. But so while that part wasn't fun, the overall build of this set is really not that bad. It's definitely not Lego, but it holds up reasonably well as long as you don't swoosh it. It is too heavy for that and just not connected powerfully enough at the center. I think if it had some Technic connections, it could have held up, but just being held on with system-style bricks, it wasn't quite enough without the proper support. Thank you for beaming in to watch my latest video. I really appreciate everyone who comes to watch, and I also want to give a special shout out to all the people who helped make my video about my mock with the beach shop and pizza restaurant my most viewed videos, with over 1,500 views as of today. And I really appreciate that people have come by to check that out. Looking ahead, I've got more Star Trek builds coming up, plus I finally got the remaining pieces from at least one of my pick-a-brick orders, so I have something to build from that. And then I got some other large projects to show off here, hopefully in the next few weeks. But until then, remember, today is a good day to build.